This tragedy has shaken many teachers to their core. Some are demanding that lawmakers address gun violence in America in order to protect classrooms and other spaces from future massacres. So I want to bring in Randi Weingarten. She's the president of the American Federation of Teachers, a union representing over 1.5 million teachers and staff across the country. I don't know if you heard, what Danya said, that child said as he woke up through the thunderstorm, which was, "It's happening again." And I imagine that is something that you thought as well, because I know that you have been called on to talk about what we can do in schools right after, a school massacre a number of times at this point in your position. You recently testified before Congress yesterday on the teacher shortage. I'm sure there are a number of reasons as to why there's a teacher shortage. The pandemic, I'm sure, plays a big factor. But I'm wondering if violence in our classrooms is also something that's impacting, the decision that people are making to either stay in teaching or go into teaching.
So look, all of these things impact, whether people stay or go into teaching. I mean, I just we got to solve this, whether there's a teacher shortage or not a teacher shortage. We actually have to solve gun violence in America. We have, in the last 2 weeks, you've had 2 terrible massacres. One that was clearly race-based in Buffalo. We don't know about the motive here, but look at the copycat. All these people who are saying, "Oh, just have teachers on." Really? This 18-year-old was wearing armor, the same in terms of Buffalo. What is going on here is that other countries of the world, this is probably the most important thing I can say, other countries in the world, when these kind of things happened, they took actions to get guns out of the hands of people who ought not have guns, not out of the hands of hunters, but get weapons of war out of the hands of people who ought not have them, which is basically civilians ought not have weapons of war. That happened in Scotland after the Dunblane massacre in 1996. Britain acted. It happened in Australia after the Port Arthur massacre in 1996. So the question is, why can't we, in the biggest, most important democracy in the world, do something?
Let me ask you quickly, because I don't want to run out of time, and you have a lot of experience here. What has happened after many of these school massacres, these school shootings? We hear a lot of promises. Of course, there's a debate about gun control on both sides. Both sides seem to agree that mental health resources need to be made available. What have you seen that actually happens? Where does the money go? Does the money last longer than one school year? What happens?
So that's a really good question. The money has gone. So the Parkland and Newtown, we were very, very, very engaged with. The money has gone to hardening schools, creating good safety plans, but the money has not gone to actually deal with root issues. So we've been calling for wrapping services around schools so that you have an ongoing guidance service. You have an ongoing mental health service. So the guidance counselors don't have like a case ratio of 600 or 700 kids. So they're not going to see if a child or a young adult has left school and the reasons why. So we've been calling for wrapping services around schools and creating that kind of infrastructure, that kind of safety net. Immediately, you have lots of thoughts and prayers. You have a lot of people reaching out to try to help families. We're going to do that with our Texas colleagues in the next few days as well. But we need long-term strategies, not only on mental health, but on social media and on getting guns out of the hands of people who ought not have them. That's what other countries have done. That's what we need to do.
So hardening of schools, which you say there's nothing wrong with that, but we definitely need more money for mental health intervention and support. What about some of the other things we're hearing?
And frankly,
arming teachers.
let me.
I was going to say, what about some arming teachers?
Just say
go ahead.
Hardening.
Hardening schools. Go ahead.
Let me just say on hardening schools, and I just call arming teachers part of that too. Part of our hardening schools is having, drills are really important. But what's happened is that some of the hardening of schools and the money that has been spent on that, that's not going to help if somebody is wearing armor like you just saw. Arming teachers, look, we're stopping teachers from teaching honest history, and yet we want to arm teachers instead of getting arms, weapons of war out of the hands of people who ought not have them. Right. It's crazy. And what are you going to do? You're going to arm that teacher in that fourth grade classroom where that man, that maniacal 18-year-old killer has an AR-15? How are you going to deal with that? The Buffalo shooting, it was a former police officer who was a security guard. The 18-year-old was in armor. So what we're not doing is we're not dealing with the root causes, which is what UK and what Australia did. I'm not saying that hunters shouldn't hunt, or, the Second Amendment about muskets shouldn't be there. I'm saying, why do we have weapons of war in the hands of 18-year-olds?
And I want to remind everyone that in this case, because every shooting is different, this shooter, as far as we know, does not have a background with mental health issues, at least nothing that authorities were aware of anyway. So in this case, mental health intervention probably would not have made a difference. Randi, thank you so much.
Thank you.